The day 50 mechanics walked out of Black Ridge Motors was the day everyone finally learned what kind of man Victor Hale really was, though those who worked under him had known for years, because cruelty leaves fingerprints everywhere if you live close enough to it, and Black Ridge Motors, a massive steel and glass service complex on the edge of the city, was practically soaked in his temper, his arrogance, and his obsession with control. Victor Hale was a self-made millionaire who loved reminding people of that fact, loved telling them how he'd crawled out of nothing while conveniently forgetting the investors he crushed, the partners he betrayed, and the workers he exploited, and on that morning he stood on the elevated metal walkway overlooking the garage floor like a king surveying peasants, his tailored suit absurdly expensive against the grease-stained concrete below, his voice amplified through the intercom system as he berated a mechanic for taking an extra 7 minutes on a transmission rebuild, calling him incompetent, lazy, and replaceable. And that word, replaceable, hung in the air like poison, because every man and woman on that floor knew how easily Victor fired people, how he docked pay for mistakes while pocketing bonuses for himself, how he installed cameras everywhere except the bathrooms and monitored them obsessively, how he bragged about owning people's time as if it were just another commodity he'd bought, and when the mechanic tried to explain that the delay was due to a faulty part supplied by one of Victor's cheapest vendors, Victor cut him off mid-sentence and ordered him to clock out permanently, and something in the room shifted, a subtle crack in the fear that had kept everyone compliant for so long, because the fired mechanic didn't beg this time, didn't apologize, didn't lower his eyes. Instead, he removed his gloves slowly, placed them on the workbench, and said quietly but clearly, "I'm done," and then another mechanic shut off his engine hoist, another wiped his hands and stepped back, another removed his badge and set it down, and within minutes, one by one, 50 mechanics followed, their boots echoing across the concrete as they walked toward the exit, past stunned supervisors, past Victor Hale shouting threats about lawsuits and blacklists and ruined careers, until the massive garage doors slammed shut behind them, leaving Black Ridge Motors eerily silent. Millions of dollars worth of equipment idle, unfinished jobs stacked like evidence of Victor's own downfall, and for the first time in years, Victor Hale stood alone, furious, humiliated, and convinced that this was a temporary inconvenience, because men like him always believed the world would bend back into place if they applied enough pressure, and that's when the rookie arrived, late, breathless, and completely unaware she was stepping into a war zone. Her name was Lena Morales, 22 years old, fresh out of a technical institute, hands still soft enough to blister, eyes sharp with a mix of nerves and determination, and she froze just inside the entrance when she saw the empty bays, the abandoned tools, the silence so thick it hummed, and before she could turn around and leave, Victor spotted her, his anger recalibrating instantly into opportunity, because predators adapt quickly, and he marched toward her with a smile that never reached his eyes, telling her she was lucky, telling her the quitters had shown their true colors, telling her this was her chance to prove loyalty, to move up fast, to be part of something elite, and Lena listened, nodded, because she needed the job, because student loans didn't care about workplace politics, because she'd grown up watching her mother work double shifts without complaint. But even as Victor led her onto the garage floor and gestured grandly at the machines, Lena noticed the small things that didn't add up. The half-finished repairs, the tension still clinging to the air, the way Victor talked about people as if they were tools that had malfunctioned, and when he ordered her to start on a high-end engine rebuild far beyond a rookie's responsibility, without guidance, without proper safety checks, just to prove a point, something stubborn flared inside her, because Lena had been underestimated her entire life, but she had also been taught to do things right or not at all, and she asked a simple question. Where were the manuals, the torque specs, the senior tech sign-off? And Victor's smile vanished, replaced by irritation, and he snapped that real talent didn't need hand-holding, that fear was a weakness, that she should be grateful he was even giving her a chance, and Lena could have backed down, could have swallowed her doubts like so many others before her, but instead she looked around the empty shop and said calmly, 50 experienced mechanics don't quit a good workplace all at once. And the words landed like a slap, because no one had ever said anything like that to Victor Hale's face, not without consequences, and he leaned in close, lowering his voice, warning her not to get ideas above her station, reminding her how easily she could be replaced, and Lena met his gaze, heart pounding, and replied, "Then replace me when I do something wrong, not when I ask to do my job safely." And in that moment, something irreversible happened, because Victor didn't fire her, not yet. But he walked away seething, and Lena stood there alone in a shop built on fear, unaware that her refusal to bend had just set off a chain reaction that would expose everything Victor Hale had been hiding, change the lives of everyone who'd walked out, and turn a rookie mechanic into the one person he could not break. And as the lights hummed overhead and the silence closed in, Lena took a breath, rolled up her sleeves, and got to work, not knowing that this was only the beginning. By the end of the first week, Black Ridge Motors no longer felt empty, it felt watched, because Victor Hale had replaced human presence with surveillance, adding more cameras, more checkpoints, more rules, prowling the floor like an inspector searching for flaws, and Lena felt his eyes on her constantly as she worked, measuring every movement, every pause, every breath, yet she did not rush, did not cut corners, because precision was her quiet rebellion, and that alone infuriated him more than open defiance, especially when customers began calling, not to complain about delays, but to ask why their vehicles were suddenly being handled by a single rookie mechanic while 50 seasoned professionals were gone, and Victor spun lies smoothly, telling them about restructuring, about efficiency, about loyalty, but cracks formed quickly when a luxury client showed up unannounced and found Lena alone under a lift, grease on her face, calmly rebuilding a system worth more than her yearly salary, and instead of panicking, she explained the situation honestly, not trashing Victor, not exaggerating, just stating facts, no senior oversight, no proper documentation, pressure to rush, and the client's polite smile hardened into concern, because people who pay top dollar understand risk, and within days word spread, inspections followed, and Victor's temper escalated into something reckless, ordering Lena to falsify logs, to backdate safety checks, to sign off repairs she hadn't touched. And every time she refused, calmly, professionally, documenting everything in a notebook she kept hidden in her locker, Victor grew more desperate, because the mechanics who'd quit hadn't disappeared, they'd connected, shared stories, filed complaints, and when one of them, the man Victor had fired publicly,